Hello and welcome. Happy Monday. It is Motivational Monday. It is Q&A. I have so many titles because there's just so many things I want to talk to you guys about. Happy Monday. I hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. I'm just going to flip over to social land here and see if you guys are seeing me on the other end. It's warm here today I'm in the Calgary, Alberta, Canada region, for those of you that might be joining me for a workout on what's a beautiful Monday here. I do see myself live and yapping and rubbing my nose on the other end. So there you go. I'm going to close up the other window and get back to you here. Today is one of those topics that continues to come and rises, and sometimes your situation changes. So bone density and fall prevention can mean different things to different people. And there's probably different stages in our life or the people in our life that we go through where, maybe we're not thinking about our bones. But that whole, there's so many sayings, if you don't invest time in your health, now you'll be rest assured you'll have to invest some time and probably some money down the road. So we're going to talk a little bit today about prevention. We're also going to talk a little bit about the exact opposite extreme, where you're in a very frail, maybe osteoporosis, osteopenia diagnosis, and you need to change things. And unfortunately for many of us, traditional activity isn't always an option. We know what we're supposed to be doing and what we should have been doing and what we should have been eating. And you can't go back in time 50, 60, 70 years. So what everyone that's joining me today or watching me, just don't beat yourself up. You can't look through the rear view mirror. You could only look through the windshield. So today it's going to be anything that we're doing will be equally effective for preventive action. If you've got, maybe osteoporosis or weak bones in the family, or, you're just on that borderline osteopenia, progressing forward. There's some common things that we are supposed to be doing. And like anything else that I talk about, it's being consistent and regular with what we are doing. If you're joining me today, could someone just shout out and let me know that you're seeing and hearing me? I see there's a couple of you listening to me ramble. And before I get to my presentation, let's call it that, I just want to make sure you guys are seeing and hearing me okay. If someone is there. Robin, thank you. If you are joining me today, let me know who's here. If you do have questions specific to you or someone that you are caring for, perhaps someone in your life that you care about, I will leave a healthy amount of question room at the end because it's never black and white. Bone building, interesting stats. Osteoporosis is a term I'm going to spit out a few times today. Obviously, we develop osteoporosis or prior to that osteopenia as the bone health deteriorates, which can be attributed to a number of different factors. So please don't beat yourself up. As I said, it's not about what we haven't done and focusing energy there. Let's focus on what we can do. So right now, 1 in 5 women over the age of 50, and interestingly, only 1 in 20 men suffer with an osteoporosis diagnosis. And I believe that's a diagnosis. So how many of you don't have a diagnosis or aren't aware? When it is severe, simple things like a cough or bumping into a door frame, a minor whacking of the toe on a piece of furniture can result in a fracture. And when your bones have deteriorated and your lifestyle isn't conducive of making changes required, often you can also deal with pain, swelling. There's other symptoms. So the recovery and trying to heal from that break can be more substantial. Sometimes you may need, if you do have a diagnosis or you're dealing with bone issues now, and you're in a situation where the traditional gym and just going and doing what you want may present risk, you might need to avoid certain activities or certain movements. So things like, certain exercises where maybe you're twisting the spine. That's a very evident area of deterioration early on, the smaller the bones. So things like swinging that golf club, bending over to tie up the shoes, we're going further at the waist than maybe you should be, crunches and sit-ups, those type of exercises, toe touches. It's going to vary for everyone, but if you are dealing with a diagnosis, sometimes we tend to start getting active because we've got a problem and we need to deal with it. But make sure that you please talk with your doctor and ensure that what the activities you want to embark upon are appropriate. Because typically, if you're dealing with an osteopenia, osteoporosis, or if you've already had a fall and a break and you know what I'm talking about, it's the recovery. No one ever died of osteoporosis or osteopenia. It's the fall, the break, the recovery from those incidents. So bone health is important, but to me, it's a long-term benefit, and long-term gains come with doing easy things consistently. I always try to keep things simple to keep you engaged in doing the work, so it feels less like work and more like progress. But bone health and improving bones and strength and weight loss to a degree are longer term benefits. Today, I can help you improve your balance and reduce your risk of fall just by using the little shaky machine that most of you have that might be too fearful to use. So when you're dealing with osteoporosis, osteopenia, or God forbid you've had a fall or a break, there's a different fear factor involved. We don't trust ourselves. We don't jump 2-3 stairs at a time. We change, how we use our bones in a day-to-day situation. We don't challenge them like we did in our youth. So guess what? They deteriorate. Facebook user says, I'm so glad and relieved to see you presenting on this. I'm camping out in the middle of nowhere, but can see you are live. This has been a hot topic this month. It has been. Somebody out there must be trying to sell somebody something that improves bone density. That's usually when these topics tend to arise. Today, primarily, we are going to talk about vibration machines, but many of you don't look for a solution until there's a problem. So I know that many of you are looking at vibration machines because you have a diagnosis or someone in your family has a diagnosis of bad bones. Before I get to the demo and some of the other suggestions that I recommend you consider, if we're talking general bone health, of course we are what we eat. So the two secrets to better bone health is regular, consistent activity and proper nutrition. And if we looked at activity specifically, I did some Googling and some binging, as I always do, because things change. And, sometimes you didn't know today or you didn't know yesterday what you do now. So things change, and that includes research. What I ask you guys to do, because I've had a whole bunch of questions in the last couple of days where people are calling me to the carpet on the research and the science. I don't pretend to be the research and the science, but I will tell you that I probably have a few zeros of hours of experience using these machines. And bone density is something that I'm very fortunate to have a lot of experience with because I've been doing this for 16 years. And I get to realize the benefits long-term of some of just the consistent things. And a lot of my clients that have had success with bone density, decreasing their falls, improving their quality of life and living again is simple little 2 to 3 minutes, a couple, 3 times a day, treating something else or boosting energy or, using it for other reasons. You already bought the machine and realizing that, guess what? My T-score has gone up. My bone density's gotten better. What have I changed? All you've added is the machine. And part of it is a lot of my clients, if you use it as a self-care tool and you're using it more frequently, more regularly, the bone density isn't a hard thing. It's just about doing weight-bearing activities. For those of you that are unable to perform weight-bearing activities, maybe you've had a fall or you've deteriorated to a point where you need to be very cautious in the activities that you do. Very many people have gotten upset with me thinking that how can you use a shaky vibrating machine when you have osteoporosis? It's going to shake and rattle the bones. No, it's very mild, very low impact movement. So once you kind of understand a plate is an environment that just makes traditional exercises, whatever those exercises are, might be squats, might be step-ups, might be calf stretches, might be push-ups, That's more what you do on a machine is more about where you physically are at and where you wish to proceed. It's not about how I want to do it. I can't come to your house every day and make you do it. So I want you guys to be not only successful with this and consistent in using it, but I always find the consistency is more attainable when pick something you're going to enjoy. Pick some moves you like. If you like to dance, dance. If you like to listen to music, listen to music. If you like to go to the gym, go to the gym. But there's ways you can add your machine without it being a big old drag and get a whole lot of benefit in the long run. So here we go. Today, I'm working on the Rumblex Plus. I see I got a couple of other things out from a session I did this morning that I forgot to tuck away. Bear with me. Just a moment, please. Okay. So, and just very briefly back to my little notes here. So I mentioned earlier, foods and getting moving, aerobic activity, weight bearing aerobic exercise is the best way if you look on the internet. But there's lots of different ways that you can do weight bearing activity. What a plate is, think of it again as an environment. It's simply something that makes whatever exercises you might be doing on the floor more effective in less time. And for many of you dealing with a diagnosis, more possible in ways that traditional exercise wouldn't allow. So we're going to talk about 4 different ways today in total, because I always like to talk about as many tips as I can. And I want you to be successful. So I'd like to present a few different things today because many of you are coming from a different place and different disciplines. Again, I want you guys to pick something that you're going to use regularly more than what I might enjoy. So I need to make sure I'm back on camera here. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to take a look at is the vibration plate. And really the only precautions I want you to consider if you're looking at using a vibration plate and you are dealing with bone density issues is know your limits. And if you've never used a vibration plate before, become familiar with it in a seated position. I do not want you taking any additional risk. And in a lot of ways, a vibration machine, just because of the passive lymphatic and circulatory movement it gives you, regardless of what you're doing, you always are getting those 2 things. And by association, some relaxation, maybe a little bit of an energy boost, a little bit of itchiness or tingly is very common, especially in areas where you might have neuropathy. As things get moving and your systems start improving, you're going to notice not only are you able to progress and do more, but perhaps if you're unable to bear weight or you're not able to bear weight for long periods, starting in a seated fashion kind of like works on the foundation of the house to get to this point. So I want you to very clearly understand how the machine feels to you, because it's a very different experience for everybody. A few of the tips when you're using a plate, I am using this machine today in what I refer to as oscillating movement, which is teeter-totter. There's lots of different ways a machine moves. There's different types. Today, we are sticking with that movement for one primary reason that I feel this type of movement has an advantage over everything else. Again, about learning the basics. Oscillating movement mimics how you walk across the floor. It's the most natural feeling, and in my opinion, in my experience, it's the most functional. For today's purpose, the one thing I promised that I would give you in today's session is improved balance. When you are moving in this fashion across the floor or standing on a plate, your body is forced to stabilize itself through those movements. So a vibration plate, a side effect, or what I will refer to as a side benefit of using it in any way, shape, or form, you improve balance almost immediately. Many of my therapists will use it for just a minute or 2 prior to doing other exercises with the short-term goal of improving your balance, but the bonus of the circulation and the lymph and all that stuff. If you are okay standing for long periods and you don't have any fall risks or you haven't taken a fall, Standing on the plate with the knees just slightly bent is a weight-bearing exercise. I would prefer, if you would be willing to do maybe a squat or some lunges. What you choose to do on the plate as far as positions is really going to drive secondary benefits. I want to lose weight. I want to get stronger. I want to tone my thighs or my arms. That kind of drives to a degree what different types of exercises. But if you're in a situation where you need to turn your situation around and improve your bones and your balance today, this is really all you need to do regularly, 2 to 3 times a day. If you have a diagnosis and you are dealing with pain, you are dealing with constant, walking into walls, the more often the better. And I don't want those of you that have those questions like, how often and how long can I use a machine? Use your common sense. I'm saying use a machine when you feel you need to. If you're starting to feel unstable, if you're starting to get anxiety, if you're going for a trip to the store and you just want to give yourself a little bit of stability, do this for a minute or two. It doesn't mean you need to do it for 15 minutes just because the machine is preset that way. If you are sort of in between and standing on it is kind of scary, and you need a little bit more stability. I meant to grab some props today. I'm in Canada, so many of us ski. If you've got ski poles or walking poles, you could put a pole on the floor. Sometimes your balance isn't as bad as you think it is, but you feel better when you have something to put those fingertips on and just stabilize yourself a little bit. This one does not have a back, but if you've got a higher stool or a regular chair with a back, actually this looks better. So something like this, just to give yourself something to hang on to. Balance is one of the things that improves not only within the first use of a machine, but with regular use, you'll feel more and more stable. So the need for handlebars or using it by a countertop or however you may need to start becomes less and less of an issue. If you're finding that standing on the machine is not comfortable, you're feeling it too much in the head, or you're starting to feel it in the head, it's very common for the body to always try and find the path of least resistance. It's always trying to find an easier way to do things. So I want you, if you are, like I say, prone to falls, you're inactive now, you're just getting familiar with this space of the plate, I don't really want you doing anything too fancy yet. I want your feet no more than hip width apart. If you stand wider, there is this mentality and this visual out there that the wider I stand, the more I feel it, the more that must be happening. Well, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily a good thing. The wider you stand, the more you feel it because your body is moving wider on this axis of this teeter-totter you're standing on. So I want us to be functional. I want to improve your function, not challenge your balance just yet. If you're finding hip width apart is too aggressive, too strong, make sure the knees are bent. If the knees are not bent and you stand tall, it drives all the movement up to your head. You become like a pendulum. Not harmful, but you're trying to become familiar with this space. I want you to understand how to navigate it appropriately. If the deeper you bend, the more you will feel the vibration suppress into the legs. And if strength, getting up out of the chair is a challenge, you want to target those legs, hips, try bending a little bit deeper. How deep you can go is going to vary. And I recommend just holding still if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more to start. If this feels too strong, you are always in control. If you bring your feet right close to the center, you reduce the amount of movement. Wider is stronger. So if you're dealing with a severe diagnosis and you have what I call good days and bad days, and it's a bad day and your normal thing just ain't feeling so good, modify, change what you need to do. For those of you that, maybe fatigue easily, you're doing other things that day, you're maybe not quite ready to do a whole session standing, you're fearful, there's all kinds of ways you can combine. Maybe you're sitting and you stand up once. That's a very functional thing we do quite a few times in the day. But for many of us, we struggle. We got to use our arms and things to hang on to. So, do functional things that make your day easier, that will help present less risk, falls, tumbles, those types of things. For those of you that are comfortable standing on the machine, I'm going to share the most amazing tip that I have used for decades on this machine. It's not even an exercise. It's simply a variation of standing here. And if you feel comfortable just standing here, you're able to move around and dance to your tunes, and you just really want to target the balance specifically. If you're a care provider and you're working with someone on the plate and, due to health or limitations, it's hard to do anything more than just stand on the plate at this point. Try closing the eyes for 2 to 3 second intervals. Spot yourself, hang on to something if need be, but simply just close the eyes, focus on breathing. 80 to 90% of what we do relies on this most important sense, and we become very reliant on it. And, it kind of mimics walking around in the dark, trying to go to the bathroom. So, if you're the type of person that's going to walk into a door frame, or you got a lot of bruises because you're always walking into walls on the way to the bathroom in the middle of the night, not only should you install night lights, but do things on the plate and close your eyes, like I say, for 2, 3, 5. You become a little bit more aware of your body and how to stabilize it in that environment with this out of the equation. Like I say, you can use the machine for 2 to 3 minutes as needed throughout the course of the day to manage symptoms. Symptoms, I've talked a lot so far about balance, because that's the one thing I promised I would give you as right off the bat. I guess the other thing I'm giving you is kind of like a 3 for the price of 1. So you're getting the length, you're getting the circulation, and you're getting the balance, which just makes everybody feel good. What I will caution you, if you have been downhill for a long time, you've been inactive, you're probably dealing with fatigue, probably got some sensitivity issues going on, the machine will make you feel good. I've had the biggest of researchers in the world tell me it makes me feel happy. What I don't want you to do is overdo other things because it makes you feel good. So you've got this boost of energy and you're going to rake the yard and paint the house and do 3 weeks worth of laundry. A lot of my clients dealing with chronic issues, regardless of what they are, nobody's just dealing with bad bones. Usually, maybe you're dealing with MS, maybe you've got fibromyalgia, lymphedema. There's usually other things that, maybe attracted you to the vibration plate in the first place. But you don't need to necessarily do separate things. For the bones, I would love to see you daily, a couple of times daily on the machine, 2 to 3 minutes, just making yourself feel better. Give yourself energy. If you're willing to do like squats and push-ups and things like that, good for you. You're going to get more benefit. But if you're a long ways out from there, the biggest benefit you can offer yourself is consistent, regular use. The strength in the bones will come with consistent, regular use. And in the short term, you're going to boost the balance. You're going to reduce that risk of falling. And that's the biggest thing short term you need to deal with. Not only the physical ability to reduce your falls, but the mental capacity. When you feel more stable, when you feel stronger, when you have better sensation in your feet, it goes to further reducing not only the physical, but the mental health associated with this type of a diagnosis. So I need some agua. Thank you for everyone for being patient. I see there's 11 of you there. Wasn't that the hardest routine ever? So for those of you that are going to maybe ask me later, so is a lunge or a bridge like really good for bone density? Is it a weight bearing exercise? Yes, it is. If you choose if you want a little bit more cardio and you're not dealing with arthritic knees or other challenges, how you progress and what you will find if you learn to reduce your foot distance, if you are dealing with joint pain, swelling, that's 999,999. I don't know what the 999 out of a million people. 999,999 out of 100,000 is a million. My math is bad today. It's Monday. it's because you're standing too wide. If you're having a knee issue, if you're swelling, or it's too wide and too long. So please adhere, for those of you dealing with bone density issues that are inactive now. I don't care what the chronic condition is. Use it more frequently. Just get used to how it feels. Give yourself a couple of weeks of playing with it. If you've never been an exercise guru in your life, guess what? You're not going to turn into one just because you got a vibration machine. But it's easier to do than many other things. It makes exercise more possible, but I can't make you do it. I can hopefully give you some simple tips to start making you move and feel better, and very strongly nudge you in the right direction. For those of you that have gone further beyond that, perhaps you are bedridden, you are unable to bear weight at all. There are extreme situations, but I don't want you to think there is nothing that you can do. There are medications, of course. I have to responsibly mention that there are medications that can improve bone density, that can, help your bodies stimulate bone growth. I prefer the natural approach. We've talked about vibration machines, bar none. Out of everything I'm going to discuss today, weight-bearing activity is kind of the big thing you need to focus on. The vibration plate is just an environment that makes it easier and more effective in less time. Whatever that exercise looks like, that's up to you. That's some goal setting. And that's, again, be realistic. If you've never, ever used more than a day of your gym membership in your life, don't be messaging me for, I need a really good workout that's 15, 20 moves. It's just going to intimidate you. Start simple, spend a week or two becoming familiar with how it feels, learn how to control how it feels for you, your experience, and progress from there. There's lots of ways to do that. The next best way to boost bone density is to add additional mass. Adding additional mass can not only help your strength and mobility, but it's going to boost the metabolism. It's going to help you manage weight, whether that's an increase or a decrease. Be conservative. If you've never lifted weights in your life, don't just go buy some 50-pound kettlebells and get going. Anything that you can add to your frame is going to challenge the muscles and the bones to work harder, regardless of what you're doing. Buy some ankle weights. Throw a 10, 15-pound bag of rice in your backpack and take it for a walk. Adhere to the same things I talked about earlier. If there's twists or toe touches or things that your doc or care provider has advised you avoid there as well. But any of the exercises I did today, you could simply add your Life Pro Click weights, or you have your 2-year-old to piggyback you. And the heavier you are, not only are you going to push your muscles to fatigue faster, but it's going to make those bones stronger and more flexible. So adding weights is you're not going to become some big muscle-bound bodybuilder, but it's a really good way to not only talk about reducing mass, reducing weight, making the metabolism work harder, but through that, the bones have to support all of this. So of course, logically, they're going to be stimulated and be improved. And as I said, if your situation is very severe, you are on meds right now, and exercise is really not an option for you. It's more of a risk. I know that sounds terrible, but for some people, we've gotten due to a condition, due to inactivity. Again, I don't want to look through the windshield or the rear view mirror. I want to look through the windshield. So a couple of other things I ask that you explore and discuss with your care provider, whether you're taking meds or considering meds. There are other natural alternatives that you probably have now if you're a Life Pro person and you're using their stuff, is light therapy and pulse electromagnetic field therapy. I'm going to talk very briefly, hopefully blow your mind a little bit. So light therapy, many of us talk about it for pain and arthritis and swelling and surface conditions and weight loss. But did you ever think about it for your bones? Well, if you've watched any of my ramblings or Amber's or Roseanne's or any of the posts on here about light therapy, many of you realize that it improves mitochondria function, boosting that natural collagen production. So infrared in particular shows the potential to promote tissue regeneration, which helps increase bone formation and collagen deposition. So, it makes your body naturally produce the stuff that it needs to improve the formation of new bone or the regeneration and healing of, if you've had a break or you've had a fall, and you're dealing with a broken bone situation. Not only can it be, impossible to exercise, but it can be painful. You can be suffering. There can be swelling. There can be inflammation, all kinds of things. So light therapy, it has a lot of benefits, but sometimes you don't necessarily associate with a break or a fracture as something that you might want to use. So of course we know it increases a lot of that cellular function. So therefore, logically, it's something I would recommend you discuss with your care provider. Okay, nobody's sleeping yet. I got one more thing I want to talk about, which is new to Life Pro this week. And maybe some of you have already gotten one. Hang on. Is PEMF. Okay. This is the mini pad. This has infrared option. It also has pulse electromagnetic field therapy, not to be confused with EMFs. And I really would prefer not to have 550 comments. This is a short-term specific magnetic therapy that has actually got a lot of science behind it. Pulse electromagnetic field therapy has been approved by the FDA. Life Pro has got, like any of their tools, things that you can actually afford in a consumer grade, low dose home therapy version. Usually you're using these treatments more often than when you're physically going to see someone. PEMF in particular, the first PEMF device I ever saw, I'm going to date myself, but if you've ever seen the show Stargate, I thought I was going through a Stargate. It was this big, round, massive white structure with this huge recliner gravity lounger thing inside of it. And I thought, what on earth? And it was like 50 grand for the home one. And I'm like, I would need to build a home just to house this thing. So fast forward 20 years, things have come a long way. I have been using pulse magnetic therapy for a very long time. It has been shown to be effective in improving bone regeneration. And for those of you, an ounce of prevention for that piece of it, in preventing bone loss. The PEMF signal activates bone growth signaling, activates bone growth signaling pathways. So, for sort of in the same way that light therapy boosts mitochondria function to make it do its job better, PEMF boosts signals within our body. We're electric beings, and it sometimes it's a matter of correcting those pathways. And pulse electromagnetic field therapy is just one of those therapies. Over the years, how I kind of fell into it is I do have some clients that were well below anything that they could do in a weight bearing situation. And what I'm thrilled about Life Pros, this is, as I said, the mini mat. You could sit this in a wheelchair. You could lay it flat. So, when we're coming from a very downhill slope and we're not at that weight bearing or physical exercise stage, there's lots we can do in a fracture situation to not only expedite recovery and healing, but to help manage symptoms if they are there. Like I say, if you shattered 5 or 6 bones in your little 95-year-old foot, it's usually kind of painful. I didn't want to say this, but I am going to bring it up. A couple of the studies I fell across when I was doing a little dust off on the research for this topic today was, if you tend to be thinner and smaller most of your life, you're bearing less natural body weight. And, thin people do, especially women, tend to have a lower bone density. And I think sometimes, there's advantages to having a little meat on your bones, especially as we get older, not only for wrinkles, if we're a little plumper, we don't tend to look our age. But, if you are ill, if you're in a hospital situation, you've got a little bit of cushion. But there is evidence out there that, adding weight-bearing activity throughout the course of your life is a great way to boost bone density and strength as well. Robin, did I ramble you to sleep? I'm going to take a look at questions here now. I missed when you needed this. If you're referring to the PEMF, it's kind of the mats that Life Pro has come out with recently offer infrared, which I talked about as a benefit for boosting mitochondria function, not only to improve bone health, but certainly in a recovery situation. But pulse electromagnetic field therapy has a long history of benefits for bone regeneration. So this is the new mats that LifePro has come out with. For those of you that are confused, it's kind of like a 2-in-1. You can use it infrared, you can use it just pulse electromagnetic field, or you can use both. And I suggest you make sure you look at the contraindications and make sure that either technology is applicable for you. I was excited about the mini mat in particular because I do deal with a lot of special needs where people do not bear weight, and like I say, the fact that I can fit this into a wheelchair or a comfortable chair is a very passive, very soothing way to not only treat symptoms associated with things like osteoporosis or recovering from a break or a fall. A lot of times there's strained muscles and tension, and 70, 80 years of using things takes its toll on the body. So this is a passive therapy. I wouldn't suggest this is going to strengthen your bones in the same fashion that weight-bearing exercise does. But if you're in a fall or a break situation and you're unable to modify and use your plate, or you're unable to do exercise, red light therapy, infrared therapy, and pulse electromagnetic therapy, frequency field therapy is something that you should do a little bit more research on, certainly from a passive basis. So that's my little lecture on, I love my vibration machines, and ultimately I would love to get everyone there because they do offer the most weight-bearing, bone-building benefit. But I do recognize so many of you, due to, like I say, medical or just lifestyle situations, aren't there, and you're unable to recover in the fashion you'd like to. And if you really want to boost results, absolutely you can combine these therapies. They're certainly going to play off each other in many ways. It's never black and white, just like each of you are unique. How your body adapts and benefits from this technology is going to vary for everyone. So use common sense. It's easy to overdo it. But I would suggest for all of these therapies, especially with today's topic of bone building and fall prevention, the fall prevention is easy. Use your machine as you need it when you feel unstable. The bone building, it's about consistent, regular use. Set easy tasks that you're going to be realistic in what you're going to do. Just keep it consistent, and you're going to win the race in the long run. I am very proud. I'm in my 17th year with the machines, and I'm not proud of me. I'm proud of some of my clients, because you can't really lie when it comes to bone density. Either things are improving or they're not. And I have had a number of clients over the years, and not always like doing the big old workout. A lot of it is that consistent, maybe they're even using it for pain managements or other things where you're just using it more often. I have seen reversals from osteoporosis to osteopenia to nothing at all. So don't give up hope. Keep in mind, I've been hand-holding clients for 17 odd years. And, it wasn't until, I was probably 5-10 years into this until I started really, believing some of the things I was reading about bone density, the neuropathy improving. I've been blessed to see many miracles in my time. And the one common thread is that consistent, simple, using this thing as a self-care tool. It's much more motivating than calling it a workout. Okay. Robin says, thank you. Holly says, hello. If anyone has specific questions, it's all about you now. So if you do have questions, you've gotten a recent diagnosis, you're freaking out, you don't know what to do. I hope today just made things seem more possible. Anything is possible. This is the most powerful tool and medicinal tool that you have is believing you can. And, I just been doing this longer than a few of you. So, I have my own tips and my own tricks, but, I don't love doing a big workout that's 25, 30 moves, but I am consistent. This time of year, I derail a little bit because sometimes it's garden season and, maybe I'm not doing my butt kicking stuff, but I'm certainly doing some stretching, the sciatic stuff for sure. Facebook user. Can I see your question? Oh, I can now. Hello. Can you please discuss recommended settings and speed and time for those of us that are longtime users? I would love to, and I knew somebody would ask this, and what I will say is there is no perfect setting. There is no perfect frequency. Really what it boils down to, just like if we were to go to the gym and we've decided that we're going to lift weights to get stronger or build our bones or whatever reason, how much weight we lift and how we lift the weight is going to vary based on us as individuals. Maybe I like to lift a little bit, but lots of reps. And maybe you like to do less reps and kill yourself with more weight. There's different styles in how you lift. So with a vibration machine, a lot of times people will come to the groups or come to me and say, well, I heard that 35 hertz is the best for bone density. How do I set my machine that way? Well, it kind of contradicts everything that I've believed in for 16 years, because it's not about a setting. It's about weight-bearing activities. What you do for a setting is only as effective as your consistency in using the machine. So as far as the setting, I recommend oscillating, and I recommend a mid to high speed with a closer foot. If you're an experienced user and you've been using your machine for a while, you know that wider is more action, closer is less action. Doesn't necessarily mean more benefit. The number one way to improve bone density is weight-bearing activity on a regular basis. If you hear things like, 40 hertz is the best or 20 hertz is the best, that is marketing, my friend. So somebody out there that has a machine that's capable of this is focusing on one, maybe two studies in a library of probably 1,000 at this point. There has been benefit shown on lots of different frequencies, on all different types of movement. And a lot of if you're a Rumblex owner, you've got oscillating, you've got pulsation, you've got lateral. And for a while, the marketing, and it's not LifePro per se, they're not in control of everything. Suppliers in general, a study had come out or some clinic would quote a study, 40 hertz is the best for bone density. Well, first of all, 40 hertz is impossible in a machine that moves this way. It has nothing. There's different frequency settings for different movements. And it's like comparing apples to oranges. So therefore, I can't give you the perfect number. What I can tell you is do what feels good to you. It's not that I don't care, but what I like and what feels good to me and my body type and my personal health situation is going to feel different to you. It's a personal experience. What I can tell you as far as a time, it depends on what your goals are. Are they just to improve bone density? If they are, 2 to 3, times a week for 5 to 10 minutes, or 3 to 4 times a day for 2 to 3 minutes. It really depends on your lifestyle and your goals. If you have other goals, like you want to lose weight or you want to get stronger, that's more going to drive the time. So if you have fitness goals, you want to lose weight, you want to get stronger, it's about pushing to fatigue. And these machines are all about getting you there faster. So if the technique is good and you're honest to God, honestly applying yourself and you're doing fitness, you shouldn't be able to do a squat for a 15-minute run on the machine. If you are, you're going through the motions or you've been doing the same thing for a really, really long time. So, I'm not trying to call you out, Facebook user. I thank you for raising this point because it is a common question. So when people say, what is the recommended setting? Or what is the time, or have you got a routine? That usually tells me that you're probably, and this is not a bad thing, this is just an experienced observation. Often you are probably not a big exercise guru. You might be active, but you don't necessarily go to the gym for purpose. So when we have a diagnosis of osteoporosis or anything, we struggle with, how did I get here? Maybe it's a lack of things that we did. So knowing what to do now and what exercises get you from point A to B are going to somewhat be foreign because they haven't been part of your whole lifestyle. They certainly were to me. I blew my knee out when I was really young and I was told that I was old and fat. That's how I got into vibration machines. I could do them. I didn't know at the time what I know now, but I never hurt myself. I certainly overexercised myself a few times and was a little sore, but almost 20 years later, I've never gotten the knee replacement. I have arthritis, I have varicose veins, but I've learned that this tool can be exercise, it can be self-care, it can be recovery, it can be therapy. It depends on what you do on it. So back to your question, sorry about the tangent there. Recommended settings, experiment. Spend the first couple weeks playing around. Like I said, see what feels good to you. Ideally, I would like you to learn oscillating movement first. Every one of Life Pro's plates offers that movement. It is the basic foundation, the starting, then experiment with the other stuff. So, a lot of people will say, well, just what's the best preset program? P2 or Pre6, or it depends. I'm here with Life Pro today, and even within their own model suite, they're not always universal between models. So, each machine has its own unique movements and features and settings. So it's hard to offer a blanket answer, but I do recommend starting and oscillating, feet no more than hip width apart. And if you do have a diagnosis or you're below baseline and you're a little fearful, look for other sessions on just how to use my plate. How do I get started? And I hope today offered you less fear. That's the big goal. There's no perfect way to win the race, but when it comes to bones, it's going to be consistent, regular use in complement with the fuel, the vitamin D, the calcium, the good protein, all those other things that your body needs for the building block to support these new activities. I hope that answered your question and I didn't go off on way too much of a tangent, although I usually do. If not, please let me know. Paula, I have a torn meniscus in my knee. Do I need to do anything different? Yes, I would suggest you're probably going to need to do a few things different. When you say you have a torn meniscus, again, what has your doctor advised? This is just an environment. So are you supposed to be active? Are you not supposed to be active? Are there exercise positions you're not supposed to be doing? Are there exercise positions you're supposed to be doing? That's where the machine really helps. So again, it's just an environment. If you're a regular user, Paula, your name's so familiar, and you just did this recently, yeah, I probably wouldn't do your Rockstar workout. I would reduce amplitude between the feet. So bringing the feet closer is a good example of how to modify for a situation to reduce the intensity. What I would suggest, if this is a recent thing, you just found out about it, you're still waiting to talk to the doc, make sure you know what's going on there before you assume it's okay to be active. It's not a matter of whether the machine is okay to use or not. It's, are you supposed to be using your knee right now? And if you are, let your doctor guide what the exercises are, what the limitations are. This is just an environment that gets it done quicker. So in a lot of ways, less time on the knees is going to equate to less pain and things like that. If you're recovering and you're not supposed to be doing a lot of weight bearing, look at some of the seated videos that I've done and just make sure the range of motion allows you to do things if you're thinking of getting down on the ground. So, if everything seems okay and everybody says it's okay and it hurts, common sense applies too. I have had people back on the machine within the day of surgery, but I'm very experienced and we've done many modifications. Maybe the other leg's okay and you can totally stand on it and put the other leg on a block or something, not on the machine. So get creative. You're only limited by your imagination and your range of motion. So if Paula is big gym guru and wants to work out and is sick and tired of waiting for this knee to heal, well, the other leg's doing all the work anyways. So you can stand on one leg and just, don't put the bad leg on the machine. That's an idea too. Thank you. I use my Rumble X5 6 days a week for 3 10-minute sessions, realizing I need to start changing up. Yes, it depends on the goals, but yeah, one of the biggest signs that you need to change your routine. And I'll say the word, I hate the 10 minutes 3 times a week thing that anything you Google, even with PD, I think now, how often do you use a vibration machine? But it doesn't, it's like saying, how often do you go to the gym? Well, are you going to the gym and dripping in sweat when you come home? Or are you leaning over the water cooler talking to all the pretty girls? It depends what you do while you're there. So same with the machine. If you're dealing with pain and fatigue, manage the symptoms first and worry about the exercise later.
It will come. So this is self-care. This is exercise. It really depends on what you personally do with it. Paula, thank you. She's telling me she had PT and doing those exercises much better. Okay, awesome. Where your PT is going to be your best friend in conjunction with your relationship with me is I'm not here to say, do this exercise, don't do that one. Your PT knows your knee and your situation, your history best. What the machine can be is, and I'll give you an example of one, the sit to stand that I did earlier. A lot of my seniors, sit on the edge of a massage table and stand up on the floor and sit back down. It's a very common exercise. Well, if you do it on a vibration machine, you might only need to do 1 or 2 reps before you kind of get the equivalent of, I do not have a calculator. Everybody's different, but it's a more effective environment to get those muscle groups where the effort is there to fatigue quicker in a more effective way. And this is why vibration machines are so effective for other chronic conditions like heart conditions, where you got no wind. I want to get stronger, but I got no cardio capacity. So we can push those muscles to a level of fatigue faster where there's less lung function required. For those of you looking to lose weight, but you can't handle long durations of exercise because we got bad knees or bad spines. Same example, you can push yourselves at an exercise capacity, but at the same time, you're building your bones, you're getting better balance. So that, this is a little bit of a tangent for those that choose to do more. For those on the opposite end of the spectrum, it's just understanding how to modify for your personal situation and needs, and how to progress accordingly. So there's no, again, perfect setting, perfect routine. It's more about understanding how you are personally. And very often that might require a visit with a trainer or a therapist to not understand how to use the vibration machine. No. None of them are experts in vibration machines like some of the folks here at Life Pro, but they are exercise people. They're the ones that know what you should and should not be doing. And we can translate to the environment that makes it more effective. I hope that makes sense. Anyone else out there? There's 6 of you that have been so kind to listen to my rambling for almost 52 minutes now. If there is anyone new here that did have specific questions, whether it's for you, your parents, I really encourage your kids. If you're a part of a household where you don't have access to a lot of activities or you just live a busy lifestyle, teach the kids to play their video games standing on it. Weight bearing activity doesn't always mean going to the gym and lifting weights or jogging the boulevard. I think that the greatest asset to using not only a vibration plate, but some of these passive other therapies. Now that Debbie has told you that you need to invest your time now, especially if you've got a history in the family, or it's something you've been thinking about. Don't wait till you've got a diagnosis. Don't wait till you have a fall and find out that there's more going on and confirm your worst fears. Invest the time now. You don't need a diagnosis to improve your care or your health. And a lot of these tools, I know many of you have in the closet. So this is just a new application you never knew you could do. So I hope that helps. If there are no other questions, I'm going to tell the rest of you to have a fantastic day. Again, this is such a big topic. I wanted to keep it general and simple. And I want anyone out there, regardless of how good or bad your bones are, to know there's lots of ways that you can improve your situation starting today. I can't make you do it, but I can certainly be here to blow a little sunshine your way and help keep you motivated. If you're watching this on a recorded basis and you did have questions that you did want to ask, or something's come to mind after you've listened to my rambling, please tag at Debbie with a Y. Sometimes the discussions get crazy, and if you don't tag me specifically, I don't always see your comments, and I don't want you thinking that I ignored you. So if you do have specific questions to bone building and fall prevention, I'm here to answer those for you. Thank you for having the time to invest in your health today and ounce of prevention. I think I've said that enough this week. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a great rest of your week. And if you haven't gotten started, there's no excuses now. You're only limited by your imagination and your range of motion. You guys have a great rest of the week and don't work too hard.